Salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to Podcast The Storm with socially awkward outcasts, crazy widows, and all around nerds convened to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening, everyone. We will be covering the Disney stuff next week. Don't worry, we're still getting caught up from the stuff that happened whilst we had our back turned, because things always do. So this week is DC fandom stuff.
Yeah, and I am your host. Last time we'll want to beat the brains of pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I am doing okay, apart from the fact that I just woke up a couple hours ago, so my sleep schedule is officially fucked, but oh well.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say it might be a short stream or not. I'm not entirely sure. Mainly, we're going to be covering the DC fandom stuff that happened during October, which happened while we were trying to do stuff for Halloween, or well, October itself. So, you know.
Yeah. The irony of every time we have something else to do is when news stories happen, but we can go 2 or 3 weeks in a row without anything ever happening when we're actually looking for them. So the universe has a fucked up sense of humor, and or Mab just enjoys trolling me. Although I don't think her trolling would be that banal, so I'm betting not. Moving forward, I suppose.
Yeah, sorry, I was setting things up and also coughing.
Yeah.
For those
Brainstormer is, yeah, he's suffering with sinus problems again this week.
Yeah. Don't worry, I got some cough drops. I got some citrus soda to help. Probably should get something to eat too. Got some pizza in the microwave. So.
And once again, I just want to remind you, you are forbidden from dying before me, because I forbid it. Under pain of necromancy.
To be honest, I probably won't die. I'm more or less just being constant suffering. Like feeling like I'm dying. So.
Just as long as we're aware, you are forbidden from dying before me.
Okay. Yeah. So, we're not going to be covering like there wasn't. I'm gonna be honest. There wasn't a lot to cover with the DC fandom stuff because I don't know why, but they don't. It's weird how they don't know how to do it. You know,
companies continue to fail at the basic building blocks of advertising, and the same is true in many ways for the Disney Plus / MCU related stuff.
Again, we'll cover that stuff next week. We're just gonna have to pick some stuff. We're not gonna cover all of it, because a lot of it didn't interest us.
So. In the same way as we're being a bit selective about
these trailers,
about the DC fandom stuff. Although, to be fair,
there was some good stuff.
On balance, I think the DC fandom stuff looks more interesting than the MCU related stuff. I
Yeah.
wish I didn't have to say that because the Eternals just came out, and by rights, I should have loved that movie, and I ended up hating it.
Uh,
But yeah, it seems like DC's day in the sun may finally be coming.
also,
Yay.
I don't know, maybe next week, because I already saw the movie. We might, maybe next week we'll do a review of Eternals if you want.
I mean, we can, or we can save it for the week after, or when we're once again not catching up from everything.
We'll figure it out. Anyway, first thing on the agenda tonight, first trailer is the Black Adam official first look teaser. The new Dawn wanted to cover this.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
Although fucking StreamYard is not letting me actually see it, so I will have to disconnect and come back in. So I'll be back in a moment. Okay, and now I can finally see the screen. Yay.
Okay. I don't have anything to say, and I can't really think of something that's DC related.
Shazam. Isn't it obvious?
I'm sick, okay? My brain isn't on operating power.
I know. I'm sorry. It's just like in the history of the most obvious things, in the history of obviousness.
I want to be honest, man. Like right now, I am trying not to sneeze like crazy.
Yeah, please. Yeah, again, don't die. I forbid it.
Anyway,
Shazam.
Yep, Shazam.
I've never seen the likes of it before. Having done James Bond for 10 years, 4 films, nothing compares to this.
Okay, I am mildly interested and pleased that they gave the actor for Dr. Fate the opening bit.
I'll be right back.
Which... Okay, yeah, Brainstormer needs to go and deal with his health things, so I get to talk about Dr. Fate and how I hope to God this means no possession retcon this time. Because, okay, we're doing this. For those that don't know, Dr. Fate was originally published in the 1940s by a guy by the name of Gardner Fox, who was a massive H.P. Lovecraft fanboy and wanted to essentially tell a superhero story where eldritch ancient terrors, like in the style of Lovecraft, existed, but someone also existed to fight them. So much dedicated to this concept was he that initially Dr. Fate's magic was actually atomic in nature. In the origin issue of Dr. Fate, which I believe was More Fun Comics 67, but it might have been More Fun Comics 55. But in any case, in either More Fun Comics number 55 or More Fun Comics number 67, when the origin of Dr. Fate was told, he initially was quoted as manipulating, quote, atomic power. But that's neither here nor there.
I'm back.
Point being, initially, Dr. Fate's origin was essentially a young boy by the name of Kent Nielsen, who was the son of a globe-trotting archaeologist, found his way to Mesopotamia and accidentally discovered the tomb of the ancient wizard Nabu the Wise, who was later revealed to be a Lord of Order, after having taken Kent under his wing, because the releasing of Nabu from his tomb inadvertently triggered a booby trap that ended up killing Kent's father, and so Nabu took Kent under his wing and became a surrogate father figure for him, also teaching him the ways of the mystic arts, because of course. And when it became Nabu's time to die, because his mortal body could not handle the essence of a Lord of Order, he actually insisted that Kent do it, to the point that he took off an enchantment that he made to prevent Kent from having an emotional breakdown over the loss of his father, and that was obviously enough to have Kent momentarily in the throes of emotion and kill him. And the initial plan of Nabu was to ascend back to the plane of the Lords of Order and Chaos and to essentially become a deity. But he had grown so fond of Kent that he instead chose to bind his essence to a magical helmet, otherwise known as the Helm of Nabu or the Helm of Fate. And basically, the purpose of the Helm of Fate was to amplify the protective enchantments on Kent that Nabu had taught him, but also to essentially act as a source of knowledge and technique that Kent always had access to. The way I always explain it to normies is, imagine if Superman's Fortress of Solitude, or the computer therein, was instead on his head and he could have access to it whenever he wanted. That's essentially the original purpose of the Lord, or of the Helm of Fate. Now, because Nabu is a Lord of Order, which is essentially an extremely powerful cosmic being, the longer Kent wore the helmet, the more Nabu's influence sort of warped his mind. So much so that for a good length of time in the 60s and 70s, Kent made his own helm, which was sort of a half-helm design to prevent Nabu's personality from rewriting him. Eventually, though, Nabu and Kent sort of came to terms with this, and actually, when the enchantments that protected Kent began to fade, Nabu chose to possess him, not because he needed to, or not because he needed a human vessel, because as previously established, Nabu can make his own physical body whenever he feels like it. He doesn't need a human vessel to work through. But because he loves Kent and didn't want to see any harm come to Kent's soul, he chose to start possessing him to sort of take the burden of being the mortal plane's Lord of Order from Kent and letting Kent off easy and getting it off his shoulders. This, however, was completely forgotten by every writer after this point, specifically after the Day of Vengeance storyline, when apparently Nabu completely forgot the reason why he was possessing mortals and just started possessing mortals willy-nilly, because the writers are stupid and don't know what to do with a Dr. Fate who actually, A, knows magic in his own right, and B, doesn't have a massive weakness on the top of his head for some reason. But yes, the possession retcon is the single stupidest retcon in the history of this character, and it does not apply to the Golden Age when the events of Black Adam are set. So I really hope that one of the reasons they gave Pierce Brosnan this opening was so that we don't have to deal with the stupid possession retcon. Moving forward, Shazam.
I'm back, by the way.
I know. I had to finish the rant while you were gone.
I was just getting pizza, by the way.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, yeah, Shazam.
Subway Hawkman.
Cyclone.
Atom Smasher.
Dr. Fate. Leading the whole charge is Dwayne Johnson.
He's more brutal.
I like that we're getting the Justice Society introduced first,
I
because
also
this
like
could have
the look.
easily become. Go ahead.
I was gonna. I mean, like, you can say what you say. I was just gonna like comment on something I saw.
Okay, go ahead.
I like the look of the costumes from what we saw from like glimpses, obviously, but well,
And I'm honestly just glad they're not turning this into the Rock show, like a Rock solo movie, because I think a lot of people were assuming that this would just be a The Rock as Black Adam solo movie. And I like that in the first look they did make a point to show us not just the Justice Society, but again, I'm grateful that they introduced Pierce Brosnan, who's playing Dr. Fate, first. Hope that means no possession retcon, but I'm not holding my breath because DC has a tendency of ruining my hopes and dreams. Not quite as bad as Marvel did with the Eternals, but we'll get there next week. Shazam.
damn.
Uncompromising. He moved by the depths of his pain. He's Black Adam.
Black Adam.
I don't have anything to say.
It looks badass.
Yeah, and also, well, I guess I do have something to say.
Okay.
I like how they're describing him and I like that he's not like The Rock. Don't get me wrong, like I like The Rock, but I will admit, like, his acting style is often very
He
samey.
plays himself in everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is not a bad thing. Like, The Rock's a cool dude and all. It just does seem here like he's actually kind of stretching. He's really trying to be Black Adam, the character, not changing Black Adam into him.
Which is a good sign, and doesn't surprise me because The Rock has been trying to get a Black Adam movie off the ground pretty much since the start of the DCEU. So I'm grateful that somebody in the controlling interest of the movie seems to really care about this particular niche of sort of DC lore. And again, I hope that if the crew of Black Adam ever watches this, remember what I said about the origins of Dr. Fate and the stupidity of the possession retcon, please. Because Dr. Fate has really only been done right once in live action, and that was on Smallville. But I want this to be a continuation of it being done right. Now, granted, I remember when Pierce Brosnan was cast, I gave him a lot of shit because I didn't think he fit the character. However, seeing him now and hearing him talk like he's currently talking, I am open to being sold on this. So please don't screw yourselves over again, DC. The ball is currently in your court as to the future fate of the comic book genre, because Marvel appears to be shitting the bed, which means you, DC, can and should come in, swoop in, and be like, this is how you do mystical weird shit right, Marvel. Please. I would very much love that. So I'm seeing a lot of great potential here. Just don't do what you did to the Snyderverse, to the Golden Age verse, I guess I'm calling it, because it's set during the Golden Age, which is the advice that I've been giving DC for forever and a day. If they want to do something that Marvel can't follow them on, do Golden Age shit, because Marvel has literally 2 or 3 characters from the Golden Age that are still relevant to anything, and they've already used Cap, so they can't really mine that for much more. So yes, DC, do Golden Age weird stuff and do it right, please. Shazam.
Yeah, one sec. I just got back.
Presumably taking care of your issues again.
No, I was just throwing my plate away. Or putting my plate in the sink.
Mm-hmm.
And getting a new drink.
Right.
Yeah. Shazam.
Shazam.
Hey, DC fandom, and hello to everyone watching around the world. I am so excited right now to be here and to talk to you about the man in black himself, Black Adam. Now, as you guys know, this character, this film...
Sorry, 20-second thing.
Yeah, right. I don't know how I feel about Black Adam being described as the Man in Black, because that evokes either, you know, the Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones movie in my head, or it evokes Randall Flagg stroke the Men in Black from the broader Stephen King mythos. So I appreciate your enthusiasm, Mr. Rock, but that name is already taken.
Dalton. 2 things. Nitpicking dumbassery. No offense.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, I think that was just the descriptor of the costume.
Yeah, but again, it's just like again, props for enthusiasm, but the name Men in Black is already taken. Shazam.
How can you be intelligent and stupid at the same time? I never get that. Like, I say that as your friend.
Because I care about things, goddammit. Even if nobody else does, and even if I technically shouldn't, I refuse to stop caring about things.
Yeah,
because
really
somebody
caring.
has to, goddammit.
It's not really caring, it's just kind of dumb, to be fair.
Shazam.
This universe has been a gigantic passion project of mine for a very long time. And I have worked so hard, worked these hands, these calluses, my fingers to the bone on this project, because it's the kind of project that I know comes along once in a lifetime. And the truth is, I was born to play.
Again, I am amused and gratified by your enthusiasm for this, because usually when it comes to this particular vein of DC Golden Age weirdness, I am the one lone motherfucker in the room. So
I guess I can go fuck myself then. Thanks a lot.
To be fair, a lot of your love for it is stuff that I have inspired you in. So, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but
Fair, but still.
In any case, the pool of people who have any sort of influence over Hollywood, who actually give a shit about this particular niche of weirdness, is very, very minimal to almost non-existent. And I'm glad that somebody who Hollywood is actually going to listen to seems to be on the same page as I am with this stuff. So, props to you, Mr. Rock, and I hope to God that you can deliver on what we both know is required for this material. I will say, though, given that Black Adam and Shazam 2 are both coming out fairly soon, and they both seem to be going in this direction, it seems like DC, for like the 5/8 of a second that are relevant to anything, actually cares about this material. And I'm not sure if it's because you insisted that they care, or if it's just because they finally got it into their heads that if they just embrace their own material, good things will happen. But in any case, I'm glad that DC learned their lesson before fucking around with my favorite characters. Shazam.
Yep.
Black Adam. Now, we've just started the post-production process, which is so exciting. And the film has, without question, some of the biggest action sequences I have ever been a part of. And I am so proud and excited of our incredible team who are working away to create breathtaking, holy shit scenes.
I really admire his enthusiasm. Like, I think you can tell when a movie is good when the actors themselves really get into it.
Are just in love with the fact that they're involved. Yeah.
Yeah. And like when they're talking about it, and like, you know, like hyping it up for like those like interviews and stuff.
Yeah, and it's fairly obvious when, you know, when that is genuine or when it's the studio insisting that they do. And I fully, and again, he is a professional actor, so this is sort of his job, but there have been many professional actors who have needed to do this kind of stump speech for a movie, and they're obviously not enthused. So the fact that The Rock is this enthused about being involved in this movie and in this, you know, in this side of the universe, is a really good sign, because this is the kind of reaction that I would expect someone who actually gives a shit about this material to have. And I'm all I can say is I'm holding you to this standard now, Mr. Rock. You've got my hopes up into the positive. Don't ruin them, please. Shazam.
All right, 1 second. Yep. All right, Shazam.
That I know you're really going to love. Now, even though we're still working away, this is DC fandom. So I felt like I had to bring you guys just a little something special. Now, you know me, guys, and you know, I always like to say that you, the audience, the people, you guys are my number one boss. So I got together with my...
God damn, this guy is likable.
It's The Rock. Come on.
I know, but it's worth repeating for the 100th time that he's just so goddamn likable.
You know, it's funny. I think he actually would have been a really good Kilowog in a Green Lantern movie.
That would have also been interesting. However, for once in the last 6 months, I'm grateful that we live in this timeline, because hopefully this is going to lead to an expansion of this particular corner of the DC universe, i.e. the corner that I, you know, for the longest time was basically the one simp for.
Right. Okay. So just kind of a big question. Like, this is kind of like a pseudo. This is kind of a tangent, I guess. But the question is like in this movie, because clearly Black Adam is the protagonist, but granted, he's not the hero.
Yeah, he's the center of the story, but that doesn't make him a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like if I remember from the teaser we watched last year, which was also good.
Mm-hmm.
He again, and like Black Adam, from what I remember of the character, is more or less an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Or an anti-villain.
Yeah. He's in that very gray area space.
Like, he wants to do what's right by his people, but he's uncompromised.
He's a lot like John Walker in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, in that he wants to be a good person, but he's too damaged by his upbringing, and he's too sort of gaga for his own power to be fully to be the the White Knight that
Billy is.
Council of Wizards wanted him to be.
Yeah.
And it makes him dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, because he grew up like a slave, right, and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. which they did show that, which is good, and I respect that.
Yeah, yay for origin accuracy, and more yay for not pulling your punches, because they could have easily kind of lampshaded that, but they don't appear to be. They appear to be just going, nope, this is the source material, so this is what we're working with. Yay.
But like, I don't know. It's again. I hope they don't, because like The Rock is, and I hope he can bring it, and I feel like he can, but I hope because of The Rock's personality, which you're always going to gravitate to no matter what in any role he plays in, obviously.
Yeah, because he's likable in every sense of the word. Like, I can't bring myself to not like the dude, but you kind of do need to bring yourself at some point to not like Black Adam, because he's kind of a murdering sociopath with nigh omnipotence, and this is bad.
Yeah, it's kind of like the thing is like the thing I always say is like I can understand someone, but I don't agree with it. You know, like when I talk in terms of story and stuff, like when
Yeah,
like
there's a difference between understandable and justifiable, much in the same way as the Joker movie. There is no way in hell I can't empathize with Arthur Fleck in the Joker movie, but that still does not make him in any way a hero or a morally upstanding character in any way. It just makes him a very understandable broken person.
Yeah.
And Black Adam is essentially the same thing, but with, you know, literally the power of deities at his disposal.
Yep.
Which is bad for the rest of the world.
Anyway, shall we?
Yes, Shazam.
Shazam.
My director, Jaume Collet-Serra, and we put together a little glimpse of one of the opening scenes of the movie when Black Adam is first revealed. Now, what you're going to see here is why the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. I hope you enjoy this very first look.
He is so into it, and I am here for every second of him just being so into it.
Yeah.
Shazam.
Shazam.
The Man in Black himself, Black Adam.
Sorry, I wanted to pause before we got into the actual trailer.
Yeah, so. Anyway, Shazam.
Yep.
Okay, first positive note, I really like the lighting here, because it would have been so easy to do like a grimdark desaturated thing here because it's such a dark concept, but they didn't. They kept the lighting and the saturation where it honestly should be, but they also gave it kind of a more dark and regal edge to it because of the material they're working with.
Sorry, just something I don't know. Just something you didn't notice because you know, again, I've done editing like this before.
Mm-hmm.
Is I kind of get like a kind of, I don't know, like there's like some type of color grade like layer on it that I get kind of like a gold bronze little bit.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because, you know, this is kind of golden age. I feel like it is a little. It's like an Earth 2 scenario where like.
Yeah, it's the golden age of comics, but it deals with a lot of like ancient, like Egyptian and Mesopotamian sort of
Right. Well,
aesthetics, which works really well.
It's not period piece per se, but like you get that feeling of like golden.
Yeah, there's definitely a tone here that evokes like old school pulp stuff and like
a bit of,
you know,
like
like an Indiana Jones-ish sort of thing going on.
Yeah, or Doc Savage maybe.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah, I will say like the tone already is like it's engrossing.
And again, props for not going the grimdark, Snyderverse aesthetic, because this could have easily turned into, Black Adam shows up and turns everything into a bloodbath, and it looks all grimdark and kind of like they did with the Enchantress in the first Suicide Squad movie. But they appear to have realized, no, we can't do that because there's other stuff here beyond just grimdark.
I won't lie, I kind of like the Enchantress's look from the first Suicide Squad movie. Didn't do anything with the character or anything, but
she doesn't look bad, but at the same time,
again, I think it's mainly the editing and the color grading.
Yeah, there were a lot of poor choices made with that movie that didn't do even the smarter parts of it any favors. Which obviously were fixed in the sequel because it was. Honestly, I think Suicide Squad 2 might be my favorite movie of this year so far, and I hope to God that Guillermo del Toro's upcoming movie takes the top spot. But at least for now, Suicide Squad 2 might be my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah, shall we?
Yep, Shazam.
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 That is really cool.
Yep, it's giving me some massive like Indiana Jones vibes, and I am here for it. Shazam.
Shazam.
Well,
Wasn't
that went into badass territory at the speed of fucking sound.
See, this is what I wonder in the future if they're ever going to cross Black Adam over with Shazam, because I feel like these two characters would be so interesting, like how different both its skill and personality.
I can't imagine they aren't, because I mean they literally followed up the first look at Black Adam with the first look of Shazam 2. So clearly somebody is deeply invested in this universe, and I'm betting that at least some of that came from The Rock being such an overgrown fanboy about the whole thing. And I do not mean that in an insulting way whatsoever. I'm saying that in the most complimentary tone I possibly can here.
And plus, I also want to say, the color, their actual fucking color to this.
Despite it being probably the darkest scene so far in the DC universe, considering that someone was literally just lightninged to death.
Also, I don't want to. A part of me wanted to say fatality because that straight up seemed like a Mortal Kombat thing right there.
Yeah, speaking of movies that should take notes from this movie, ahem, guys.
Yeah.
Flawless victory.
Anyway.
Yeah. Shazam.
Shazam.
Yeah, it's a good thing the JSA is in this movie. It is a very good thing for the rest of the world that the JSA is in this movie.
Also, point out, The Rock said that was one of their opening scenes.
Yeah. So, how much difference a few months can make, but I am now more invested in the DC universe than I am in the Marvel universe. And I wish that weren't the case, because Doctor Strange 2 comes out before too long, as does Spider-Man No Way Home. But at this point, judging from the approach that has been applied to the material and how far they appear to be going with said material, DC is currently doing it better than Marvel. I do not feel I am not pleased in saying that, because no matter who wins this fight, one of my characters is getting fucked up. But yeah, DC finally got their shit together, probably because The Rock insisted that they get their shit together. So hats off to everyone involved here.
Anyway, moving on.
Yep.
Shazam, Fury of the Gods, behind the scenes clip.
Yep.
I haven't really looked into this because I haven't really heard a lot about it, honestly. It's kind of been kept under wraps.
Yeah, they've done a good job at not really referencing what's in the movie, and just going based on what we see here, because I have watched this beforehand. It again really feels like, despite the fact that Shazam came out at a really awkward time for it to come out, because it came out between Captain Marvel and Endgame. But it really feels like, even though it only made like 380 million worldwide, that somebody saw potential here, at the very least, for this corner of the universe when you tie in Black Adam. And I'm betting that somebody, was talking to The Rock and was like, The Rock was probably said something along the lines of, "I want to fight the Shazam family, so you need to make a Shazam sequel." And being as he was the freaking Rock, they probably said, "Yes, sir."
All right. The only thing I've ever seen is like some people were getting upset about the costumes, like pictures of the costumes.
I don't understand why, because that was my biggest that was one of my biggest complaints about the first Sam, was how like just childish and like low budget the costumes looked. So if there's room to change anything, there's room to and this is why I always say, I don't object to changes. I object to changes that make shit worse. If the changes you make shit better, then so much the better. And I think in this case, this is one of those cases of the costumes needed to change because it doesn't work for the material, and it works a lot better now, at least based on what we see in the behind the scenes clip. Shazam.
Shazam.
Hello, my name is Zachary Levi. Should have a little tag. And I play Shazam. We all established something very special in the first movie. And
I do say, like, I feel like the emblem could have been bigger, to be honest. But that's just a personal thing. Like, the suit itself doesn't look too bad.
No. Especially when you consider that it's going to be plussed by all sorts of lighting tricks and whatnot. So
yeah, it's just the symbol looks a little too. It looks smaller than the original one, which is kind of my gripe. But again, that's something I could take or leave it with.
Mm-hmm. And it's always worth noting that things will look different off camera than on camera. So there's only so much we can judge from based on the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Now,
Shazam.
Shazam.
and Shazam Fury of the Gods. We expand on that.
Now they have balanced their life with being superheroes.
This is what we hang out with superhero friends, isn't it?
These goddesses come to our world.
Our incredible new villain.
I got nothing to say. Like, yeah, I got nothing. I'm just
You
intrigued.
have my attention.
Yeah.
Lynn's
Shazam.
Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren. She's kick-ass as Calypso.
We have mythological creatures,
Minotaurs, harpies, dragons.
When I talk about upgrades, we got an upgrade, huge upgrade in the suit. There are action sequences, bigger set pieces. We go from Athens to Philadelphia.
Okay,
like-
this
Sorry. Please.
this just like this is everything I wanted a Shazam sequel to be so far.
I do have
And
to say
the casting is Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are pretty much always wins. So
isn't Calypso?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I remember Calypso, which is what they said, right? Like Calypso.
yes.
If I remember, she's daughter of Prometheus.
Yeah, she's one of the nymphs, and I think she might be Cersei's cousin, actually, from what I remember of the mythology.
Mythology is so confusing, and honestly, there's so many variations you can't. Really
Yeah, it's well, I mean, it has been several thousand years,
Yeah,
so there's bound to be
I
different.
didn't want to point this out. This is just a director me. I don't know how you feel about this one, but that is if I believe, it's the Sanctum of the Wizards in the Rock of Eternity, and because I'm not entirely sure how much time it seems that time has gone between the movies, and the kids, the Shazam family, have personalized this, added some personal stuff to it as their hideout, like a clubhouse, like the kid, like kids would do.
Because kids.
Yeah, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks exactly like they're going in that sort of a little bit darker and more serious, but also a lot more like epic and like grand direction, which again ties in very neatly with what they're doing with Black Adam. So somebody who knows what they're doing is at play here. I'm not sure if it's the people involved, or if it's the studio finally getting their heads out of their asses, or if it's just everyone wanting to make Dwayne The Rock Johnson happy. But whatever sorcery is at play here, I want more of it. So, yeah. Shazam.
Shazam.
Go from the Rock of Eternity and the Library of Eternity to the Realm of the Gods. So you get to environments that we never explored in the first film.
It all.
Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
This is just I am so game for this. It is not even funny.
Yeah. I got nothing to say.
Other than, oi, Kevin Feige, you want to know how to do a family of immortals correctly? Notes. Take them now.
Are they immortals?
Well, I mean, quasi-immortal. I mean, the wizards lived for thousands of years, and they essentially have the same powers as the champions. So it's and Calypso, and I don't know who Lucy Liu is playing, but the goddesses are functionally immortal. So yes.
Hold on. I just saw the name. Hold on. Hespera.
Ah.
That's
Okay.
That's Helen Mirren's character. So.
Ah. I thought Helen Mirren was playing Calypso, but honestly, Helen Mirren playing a goddess in a Shazam movie is just an auto win. So, yeah.
I need to watch more of her work. I think I saw her in Red.
Yeah, she's been in so many good things. The weirdest movie I've ever seen her in is a movie called Teaching Mrs Tingle, which is like a black comedy about a bunch of students that basically kidnap their teacher, and she's the teacher. But she basically plays it as like the high school equivalent of Heath Ledger's Joker in that movie. Like she straight up like almost Hannibal Lecter style psychoanalyzes them while she's like taped to a bed, and there's a subplot about threatening her with a working crossbow. It's one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen, but she's giving an Oscar caliber performance in it.
Sounds familiar. I might have seen the trailer for that years ago.
It's a pretty old movie. I think it came out in the 90s, but it's a weird movie, but it's one of those so weird you have to kind of admire its balls sort of movie.
Alright, shall we?
Yeah, Shazam.
Shazam.
It takes the excitement and the action to a whole new level.
It's going to be more of a spectacle.
This fall around. You're in store for a treat, y'all.
2023.
I can wait. It's between this and Black Adam, I'm on cloud 9 right now. Especially given how disappointed I've been with all the behind the scenes stuff with the Sandman and of course with Eternals. So I needed a win, and this appears to be the win that I needed right now. So thanks guys for renewing my faith in Hollywood to actually do something right for once.
Now we're kind of moving into the stuff I kind of wanted to cover more.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of my personal stuff, you know?
Yep. It's one of the reasons we work so well together, because between the two of us, we kind of cover everything.
Yeah. This is a character that a lot of people didn't like. And I get it. I found him interesting, to be honest. Peacemaker, the official teaser.
Mm-hmm.
Like, full disclosure, I liked Peacemaker, mainly because like John Cena was, it's one of those roles that you think John Cena would make John Cena, like like how The Rock does The Rock whenever he plays a character.
Yeah.
But it's like the same thing with Black Adam. It's like it does seem like they're actually like going out of their comfort zone and they're acting.
Yeah, he did good. He did good, and he's always charming in whatever role he plays. So
yeah. There's also
I just think he's among the least interesting characters introduced in that movie, and I'd rather like a Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher 2 like buddy series, but
right. I feel like that's something we could debate on for like hours on end.
Yeah, and we have, so
yeah.
This is not a new point, but
well, it's not that I'm saying like I think to me like he's an interesting character, just for like.
Yeah, I'm just glad honestly they're doing something with Suicide Squad 2, because a lot of people seem to just have forgotten that movie existed, and it bothers me because that movie was so good.
Really?
Like, yeah, a lot of people, because it didn't do as well as it should have at the box office, a lot of people write it off as a bomb and say that DC will never do anything like it again and blah, 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 and I'm just like, but that movie was so good, though. Don't take away, like, any potential, like, because nobody gave Birds of Prey shit for it underperforming like a motherfucker. And
yeah, well, we actually, no, we did.
Well, we did, because that movie was not good, but
I mean, like we already did a review of it, so we don't really need to talk about it.
It's Birds of Prey was bad. Suicide Squad 2 was amazing.
It's not even Birds of Prey.
Yeah, no, it's Harley Quinn guest starring whoever they can rope into this movie, basically.
My biggest issue is that what the fuck they did with Cassandra Cain.
And they basically turned Black Mask into a one-note misogynist character, and half of the movie is told out of order, and on and on and on we could go. But Suicide Squad 2, DC, if you must create something out of a movie that underperformed, I beg you, do the Suicide Squad 2 one instead of Birds of Prey, because Birds of Prey is a shitty direction for the DCEU, and Suicide Squad 2, and what's more, Shazam didn't really make much more than Suicide Squad 2 did. So if you can basically establish an entire corner of the universe, as well you should, from the Shazam movie, then I should get a Suicide Squad 3 at some point.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we? I guess just banana. I don't
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, the Shazam one doesn't really work anymore because it's not Shazam related. But banana.
I mean, we could do Dove, because Peacemaker, Doves, and all.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah, no, it
That
doesn't
doesn't sound as nice.
Let's
Banana.
just banana.
Jamil, you cool?
What does that mean?
Truth is, you're supposed to be in prison.
For what?
Superhero stuff.
What superhero are you?
Peacemaker.
Get out of here! There's no superhero called Peacemaker.
Dude, I'm famous.
That was good.
Yeah, okay. There is a video by this therapist lady who does analyzations of pop culture characters. Really good stuff, actually, because I sent Dalton one about Polka Dot Man a while back, and they did one on Peacemaker. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But to me, he's just fascinating because again, and I think I mentioned this before. He's James Gunn described him as a douchey Captain America,
Which is accurate, if nothing else. So, yeah.
Yeah. Basically what John Walker was supposed to be, but they didn't know what the fuck to do because they wanted to make.
Yeah, because they were too busy making stump speeches for BLM and forcing sociopolitical bullshit into things.
I mean, to be fair, Captain America is technically political in some ways.
Yeah, but there's a way that it can be done that it's universal and doesn't need to be partisan and shit. Like with Civil War and
Winter Soldier.
And Winter Soldier, they were very good at being a political thriller without needing to. If you believe something other than what this character believes, you're a bad person, Derp.
Yeah. But yeah, because here's the thing with fuck, what is his actual name? I forget. Hold on, I'm gonna look that up. But actually, I because I feel like this series is gonna be kind of like a high fun, high octane fueled, kind of real crazy character analysis of Peacemaker, and a lot of his daddy issues because he has a real shit dad. We'll see that in here. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think a lot of people are gonna focus on the jokes and stuff, but the thing with James Gunn, and honestly, it's kind of why I like James Gunn and the Guardians movie over Thor Ragnarok.
Well, that was Taika Waititi.
I know, but I like that. The reason why I like Guardians of the Galaxy more than is James Gunn knows how to do emotional sincerity.
He's better at working with the human element behind the humor.
Yeah.
And
nothing against Taika Waititi on that, because he actually can do that with his own projects and stuff. He knows how to do that. It's just I didn't get any of that with Thor Ragnarok.
In the defense of Thor Ragnarok, it had 2 previous Thor movies to retcon and fix, so that might have been the reason why. And I expect we'll get more of that in Love and Thunder, because this will be a continuation of the fixed Thor. Provided they don't make Natalie Portman and Mary Sue.
Right. Fair. It's just, again, that's kind of like, that's why I didn't really like it, because it just felt too comedic and not enough like heart to it.
Yeah.
And like, I understand why it doesn't have that, but still, it's kind of why I don't like it.
It's missing a little bit.
And James Gunn, like, as edgy as he can be with like movies like Brightburn and that one like superhero parody movie, I can't remember.
Was it Superbad or was it just Super? It was.
I think it might be Super, with the guy who played Dwight from The Office as the main character.
I think so, but yeah.
But like, again, with movies like The Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy, as humorous and crazy and
Off the wall as they are, there's still a recognizable element to each of them.
Yeah.
Like you still feel for Peter Quill in Guardians 2, for example, when he realizes just how fucked his daddy issues are.
Right. Did I ever tell you about I think I told you this, but there was a moment in Guardians Volume 2 where I was legitimately on the verge of tears. And like, which is how I always gauge if a movie's good or not, if it invokes some type of emotional response from me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Yondu's funeral that almost got me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and so like, and I think there was a moment in Suicide Squad. I just can't remember because I need to probably watch it again. And I only saw it once, so.
For me, it was the I'm a superhero moment right before Polka Dot Man did it.
It was the bus scene. That's the scene that stood out to me. That got me emotional. I don't know. It's the small scenes that don't really seem that too significant. Well, okay, maybe the Yondu one was actually pretty significant.
Yeah, because all that build up of like the surrogate father thing and everything.
Yeah, it's weird.
Which side note, MCU, when am I getting a Ravengers movie?
Right. It's funny. In the first Guardians movie, we dealt with Peter's mommy issues, and in the second one, we dealt with his daddy issues. What we're gonna deal with next?
I imagine it'll be like very focused on like found family sort of thing, because they've been kind of building up that aspect in the background the whole time through. I'm wondering how much they're going to deal with the fact that Gamora is no longer the original Gamora and is actually the Gamora from back in, like, from before she met Peter Quill.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to address the fact that she's a different character? Or is she just going to act the same as she ever would? Because that would be a bit of a cop out if they set up a Gamora that's no longer emotionally bonded with Peter Quill while he still loves her, and having to deal with the fact that it's not his Gamora anymore.
I'm just hoping that they kind of mature the cast a bit after everything in the Infinity Saga.
Yeah, because not to be a dick or anything, Mr. Quill, but you sort of ruined the opportunity for the universe to not be snapped, because you couldn't just keep your cool for 5 seconds.
Which, I mean, to be fair, it was kind of understandable.
No, it makes sense for his character, and it makes sense in context. It's just like, in retrospect, it's like, oh shit. It's sort of like the Thor moment of you should have gone for the head. I bet he's been kicking himself for that for...
Yeah. Which is why, like, in my reread of Infinity War, is why I had him stay after the snap. Because it would have made more sense to see that,
Mm-hmm.
See him, like, actually grow from that experience, like, have the arc that Thor did, sort of.
Yeah. because I mean, again, as much as we all love Gamora and everything, could you not have waited that extra 5 minutes until when they got the glove from him?
Yeah. Anyway. Banana.
Yeah. Banana.
You're a born killer with expertise in every weapon known to humankind. If you have the chance to stay out of prison or work for me, kill people.
Bad people.
This is how you're handling the field. Done economists and tactics.
I already like again, it's going to be a big thing to me because we spent nearly over a decade with this problem. The colors pop.
Yeah.
It looks
it's almost like people remembered all of a sudden, oh wait, we have the ability to make movies in color and shit.
Yeah. So but
Banana.
yeah. Also, like, I did want to bring this up is like with like the scene they had of like Peacemaker like shooting off the guns and acting like a fool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of bringing up the therapist video that I remember watching about the analysis of Peacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because of all the kind of shit that he went through as a kid, being trained as like a living weapon by his father and stuff.
Yeah.
He never like emotionally matured after like adolescence or
Yeah,
like,
he's a child, and it's a very common thing among narcissists that they basically get emotionally stunted at a very developmentally early age.
I don't know. I don't think he's a narcissist. To be fair,
I mean, at the very least, he's been traumatized, and it manifests itself as a kind of like a narcissistic shell. I don't know if it goes as deep as it would with somebody like Homelander, but there are shades of very much the same kind of trauma there.
Well, if I remember correctly, is again, I'm trying to refer to the therapist video I watched.
Mm-hmm.
They had said that when, like, at a young age, if you don't emotionally mature or anything, you kind of hang on to an ideal to the point where it becomes part of your personality, and hence Peacemaker again is like,
Yeah, in like cluster P or narcissism research, they call it the false self or the compensatory self.
Yeah. But he doesn't really seem like someone who's like, again, when I think of narcissism, I kind of think of like self-obsessed and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I could be wrong, or I haven't looked at.
He's more well-adjusted than Homelander is, but I think based on just the backstory of the character and the personality of the character, you could probably make the argument of at least having a similar kind of trauma, even if it doesn't go full blown into narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah, if anyone remembers this from the bus scene in the Suicide Squad, where Homelander, not Homelander, Bloodsport talks about talks about like how his dad put him in a box full of rats. Hence why he has that rat phobia with Ratcatcher.
Mm-hmm.
You can see Peacemaker kind of giving like acknowledgement that something similar happened to him too with his dad, which again, like, he and Bloodsport are very similar, but the difference between him and Bloodsport is that Bloodsport is kind of more emotionally rounded, more or less.
Mm.
While again, he has attached himself to an ideal that he finds incredibly hard to break. Like again with him and Flag, remember that scene?
Mm-hmm.
Is like he's willing to cover up the mess of like the U.S. and like the experiments on Starro and the people and stuff. If it means
because my country did nothing wrong, there.
No, not at all. He acknowledges what there's. He did acknowledge that no one's saying what they did was right, but he's not an ultra patriot. You do realize that, right?
Wow. Yes and no.
He's about actual like world peace, and it's a whole thing. And that's a topic for another time. It's just what I'm getting at is he understands things like that, like how bad certain people can be, but again, like he's up with the ideal of like the greater good. As stupid as that is, but again, because of his upbringing, he's kind of just gone head first.
Suspended in the mind of a child.
Yeah,
and all that.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I'm hoping with the series. Like, hopefully, he can either get better or because again, in the interview, they talked about like maybe he gets better, maybe he gets worse. You know, it all really depends. And I hope he gets better because I could really see him being like an actual hero if he's willing to work in a more gray type of idea.
Yeah, I could see it going either way, to be honest. Like, I could see a situation where he becomes better or a situation where he becomes worse.
Yeah.
Or better in some ways and worse in other ways. That would probably be the route I would go.
I'll be honest, like it's weird because you're usually in the minority when you think of these things, but I feel like I'm in the minority of like I like Peacemaker. Also, for the record, I'm a Mexican dude. I feel like some people would do the whole John Walker thing with Peacemaker. Granted, I haven't seen any of that, but I feel like I need to cover my bases on that.
Yeah, there'll probably be some articles, and we'll probably cover them when they happen. Of like, Peacemaker is a reflection of like U.S. hegemony and cultural whiteness, and da 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 da. So yeah, if those articles do exist, then we'll cover them.
But
later. But
yeah,
I assume you'll see more of that when the series actually comes out.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like I like the character of Peacemaker. Like he's fascinating to me and like dissecting. Anyway. Banana?
Banana.
And this is our new recruit, the Debayo.
You don't have to shoot people after they're killed.
Right. Who's the guy that's peeking out behind the trash can?
Vigilantes, trying to be helpful.
Our first target is Senator Roland Goff. Goff may be traveling with his family.
I do want to bring up the look of Vigilante. I want to, because they did a version of him on the Arrowverse, which was cool looking. Sorry, 1 second. This looks fucking comic accurate in a way. Like it looks like it can actually exist, but also it's very comic like, and I like that. It's like it's what I really like with like the Suicide Squad looks comics. Like, the Suicide Squad movie looks. Because it looked like something that could exist, but also comic book.
Wasn't afraid of its source material for once.
Yeah. Yeah, I got nothing else to say. To be honest.
Okay, better now.
Maybe trapping with his family.
Are you sure those two kids came out of those parents? That's an attractive couple. That one looks like it came out of them, but the other one looks like a butt baby.
A butt baby.
Yeah, my older brother told me there's two types of babies. One that comes out normal, and then butt babies. Worse in every way. They come out of a woman's butt. Well, I believe that was a butt baby until I was like 14.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Again, like he is very,
Arrested Development for the win, I guess.
yeah. I mean, his dad fucking sucked. If I remember correctly in the comics, I don't know if they're gonna do this because it might give them flack for some shit. But his dad was like a member of a certain group that has 3 letters.
Aha.
Anyone who knows that gets it. I personally, I don't think
The word we can't say because it will get this poll because YouTube.
I mean, fair, we've said a lot of things on this and we haven't gotten anything pulled, so.
Fingers crossed we never get anything pulled, but I don't. Honestly, we really need to start uploading these to other platforms so that they exist for posterity at some point. So that way, if YouTube decides to tell us the bird, we'll at least still have the shows.
Yeah. I gotta figure out where to put them in. Anyway.
I think Rumble automatically syncs YouTube and their own site, so maybe we should look into that.
For some other time.
Yeah. But I know.
Yep.
There's something about him that's sad.
Hey, Dad.
I didn't much better going to a dancing boy like you.
No, lately I'm just like a maniac.
No! That's because we're born killers. What separates us from other killers is we only kill bad people.
I mean, technically, they're not wrong. Most of them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like characters like this can't work. I mean, Dr. Lecter, Dexter, so on. So,
yeah,
sure.
But yeah, his I mean, we can see like his dad was kind of shit. I do remember the actor though. I think it was the same guy who played the T-1000. I'd have to look that up. One sec. Robert Patrick.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the guy who plays his dad.
Ah.
Yep. Yeah.
Banana?
One sec. Just let me close Google. I will say, this Vigilante, because I did look into the actual character of Vigilante when like he was on Arrow and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He seems a little more comedic than his actual comic counterpart. A little more like Deadpool-like.
Well, I mean, that probably can be chalked up to James Gunning.
Fair. I hope they keep the origin though of the character because in the comics, he's a former district attorney. Yeah. That his wife was killed by certain people and that got out off on a technicality and decided to take the law into his own hands.
Ah. So he's a slightly
style.
more unstable version of the Punisher, basically.
Yeah. So I hope they keep that. I don't think it will be a focus maybe in the first season. I just hope they don't like completely abandon it, you know?
Hmm.
Or if they do,
I thought this was just supposed to be a mini-series. I didn't think it was going to get a season 2.
It has 13 episodes, usually on a series on a streaming platform that is a season. So.
Okay, so I was wrong. I thought it was just.
It might be a miniseries and it might get picked up if it gets enough views and stuff. I'm not entirely sure.
I hope it does, so that DC has an excuse to do something else with Suicide Squad, because a bunch of people for some reason have a hate on for Suicide Squad 2, even though it is objectively better than the first one in every conceivable way, and I don't know why.
You're gonna have to show me some proof because I haven't seen anyone who dislikes it.
Well, it's mostly just the cynical, assholes on the internet. Like in particular, I saw, I think Odin's movie blog did a review, and he was very negative about it, and he was very like vindictive when he was covering the box office, because he does like box office recaps, and he was like, Suicide Squad was bad, and Switch Point, when we were talking about it, was dumping on it, but that doesn't surprise me because he doesn't even like the James Gunn Guardians movies, so he might just have a hate on for James Gunn mostly. But
okay,
yeah, I've seen people for some reason think that Suicide Squad 2 was bad for some reason. I'm just like, how could it have been better?
Anyway,
yeah, moving on. Banana.
Usually. Unless there's a mistake.
You use being a jerk as a way to push people away. Suck it, boy. But if you just drop that, people actually might like you.
Yeah, again, I'm intrigued. I kind of want to watch. I really want to watch it.
I'll watch it when I get a chance to. Again, I'm hoping it does well, if for no other reason than so that DC has the excuse of paying attention to what they did with Guardians 2, or sorry, Suicide Squad 2. Because I really want DC to learn that this direction is okay for them to go in.
Mm-hmm. Shall we?
Yeah.
It looks fun.
Yeah.
Which is something we could use a lot more of these days.
Yeah, again, I'm on a very low point right now because some of my favorite IPs have been tainted by pompous artsy self-seriousness. Doom, Eternals, and it seems like they're going that route with Sandman too. So like, I need a win, and I need it now. So anything resembling how comic book movies or comic book IPs should be handled is a good thing, even though I don't really like Peacemaker as a character, and I kind of found him to be one of the more boring members of the Suicide Squad 2 team, and I still think that a buddy cop or a buddy movie between Polka Dot Man and Red Character 2 would be more interesting. Anything with this tone, I'm at least game for, because I hated freaking Dune, I hated Eternals, and I don't want to see them ruin my Sandman, so let's just hope they do it right.
Yeah.
Banana.
Oh my god. He's hugging me. He's hugging me. Dad, grab my phone. I don't want to move. Dad?
That eagle's gonna die. I just know it.
Yeah, a little bit sad, but I enjoy the like childlike whimsy that John Cena is bringing here. I still think in an alternate universe where John Cena played Shazam, I would have really enjoyed that. No offense to Zachary Levi, I just, especially when they cast The Rock as Black Adam, I was like, they should keep this trend up and cast John Cena as Shazam. But again, I'm not complaining. Zachary Levi did fine.
Yeah. Alright, moving on to the stuff that got the internet roaring last month.
Yeah, the Batman stuff, because of course everyone loses their shit over Batman, as you do.
I want to say with so much venom.
I
want to say with so much venom in you.
I just, it gets to the point where I'm like, this is what, the 4th iteration of Batman in like 3 decades?
No, I get it, but this honestly seems like
no, it's a good iteration. I'm just like, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, can I get to the characters that I actually like now? But again, DC appears to be obliging the hell out of me with the Shazam stuff, so I'm not complaining. I'm not opposed to the normies getting their stuff as long as I get my stuff too.
So yeah, this is the behind the scenes clip. Then we'll get into the trailer last because I kind of wanted to say that for last because that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't really have anything to say. To be honest.
My screen went buffering again. I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, I can see things again.
You see it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say beforehand. They might have stuff to say during the actual trailer. So, I will say I like this beginning image. I don't know if this is the actual like clip itself, or if this behind the scenes. If it's behind the scenes, it always looks cool. Imagine what it looks like on camera.
Yeah, it has an interesting aesthetic to it, so that works. But
For some reason, Batman just always stood out. It's one of the major.
I just like the look of everything, man. It's just so different compared to every like other iteration I've seen of Batman. Like live action wise.
It's good that they're going for their own aesthetic instead of copying the Snyder aesthetic or the Nolan aesthetic too much.
Well, it's funny actually because the Snyder aesthetic actually just copied the Nolan aesthetic.
Well, yeah, they're very, very close. So yeah, I'm glad that somebody is doing something other than Nolan again or Snydering again.
Yeah.
Didn't stop Dune from doing it, but whatever.
I'm not gonna say let it go because I know you won't, but I get it. Dude sucked for you.
Anyway, banana.
Well, I did want to say like a couple things.
Okay, go ahead.
To me, it has like this kind of neo-gothic sense to it, like with the Gotham and stuff we see, or like again, like how everything looks like from the settings and stuff.
Yeah, there's an Art Deco kind of vibe going on, which is good.
It does, like I said, like I wanted to say, like it kind of it's like a modernized Tim Burton aesthetic a bit, not to like the old grand.
Yeah, but it reminds me actually a little bit of Seven in terms of
Yeah, and I think that was like if I remember correctly, that's what
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves said was like one of the inspirations. Seven, Trouble in Chinatown, a Jack Nicholson movie.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that. I've heard good things, but I haven't seen it.
I saw it once a while ago, and I don't remember.
But yeah, like, which also makes me think that this is going to be a real, true detective story, which we have not really gotten. We've got
and that was also something Matt Reeves had said. He wanted to focus more on the detective aspects of Batman, which are the aspects of Batman that I like. So
yeah,
yay.
Like we got inklings of it in some of the Batman movies, but it's always been more of the mythic superhero story, which, like, for the '90s and a little bit of the Nolan stuff, I could get.
Yeah, it was necessary at the time, but we've gotten to the point now where the superhero genre is an established thing, so you can play with the more niche stuff now.
Yeah. Besides that, not really. Again, I just like the aesthetics, and that just might be me because, like, if I was to do a Batman movie, I'm not gonna lie, there's probably be something I'd do.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe not the story, or maybe I don't know. It really just depends.
I mean, according to Matt Reeves again, they're going kind of for a long Halloween sort of vibe. Which
I also remember. I don't know if anyone knows this story. I think they might. It's a story called Batman Ego. It's also an inspiration.
Do I remember that story?
It's kind of like a more internal conflict between Batman and between Bruce and the Batman persona.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I think it was made by Darwin Cook.
I
could send you a video, like a review of it, if you want.
No, I'll find it on my own. It's fine.
Also, fun fact: this movie has a prequel comic.
Yeah.
It's called Batman the Imposter, I believe, or Batman Imposter. It's in the DC Black Label.
Neat.
I mean, to be fair, I haven't really checked anything from the DC Black Label because
I've heard good things. I've heard that it's basically the modern day answer to what Vertigo used to be, but I haven't gotten a chance to check it out yet.
I kind of doubt that, to be fair.
80s and 90s Vertigo is a tough act to follow for anyone. Yeah. So anyway. I'm not sure. And I have seen some kind of stupid things that they've done with John. Like they gave John a hipster character to be in opposition to, because apparently there's a hipster magician stealing John's thunder now, and it's just
wasn't John
why?
Wait, wasn't John technically the minus the Hellblazer stuff? Wasn't he technically like a punk sort of?
Yeah, he was the punk street magician of Alan Moore and Jamie Delano's fantasies. So
anyway, I mean, to be fair, what Robin Pattinson's saying, I get on the mainstream kind of superhero stuff. I get that, about Batman, which is fine. I know you have your gripes about it, but if he's talking,
I mean, it's true, but it's also it means a little bit less when you're talking about Batman because everyone knows Batman.
Yeah.
And it feels almost like he's trying to be. It feels like he's trying to be profound without actually doing the work of saying anything profound. Is the thing, but I'm not gonna gripe about it too much. It's just
it's Batman. You get it. It's
it honestly is. It honestly would be more meaningful talking about Superman, because as we've established that most people don't actually, despite Superman's ubiquity, they don't know much about him.
For the record, I still stand by what I said last fandom about like how I would love to see a Superman, like a legit, honest to good, just pure good, golden age kind of Superman, put in like this kind of universe, like an R-rated DC universe.
Yeah.
Like legit, like again, not like a Zack Snyder Man of Steel Superman. Like just again, honest to good, like pseudo Christopher Reeves, Superman the animated series.
Yeah. And honestly, you could probably still have Henry Cavill play it if you wanted to, because Henry Cavill, when he's off camera and off script, is actually a really likable kind of aw-shucksian guy.
Yeah, dude, he's so Superman.
But they never let him actually do it.
Right, again, that so pisses me off all the fucking time, is that a lot of actors could have been great in the roles they were given if they weren't given shit material to work with.
Uh-huh.
Like Ben Affleck as Batman would have been cool.
And he did as good a job as he could have with what he was given. He just was given nothing and insults.
BVS, for all of its gripes and even problems with its characters, even Batman, Ben Affleck did a real fucking great job to establish that version of Batman.
Yeah, and it obviously was important to him and affected him because, as we all know, when the shit of the fan reaction hit the fan, and he realized that he kind of fucked up, we got the sad Affleck meme. So clearly, Batman mattered to Ben Affleck, and I feel bad that he was never actually given the chance to play the kind of character that he very clearly wanted to.
Yeah, it just pissed me off.
Yep.
Anyway.
Banana.
Yeah, banana.
Characters of the 20th century, and so many people connect to it on such a deep level and for so many different reasons. The first conversation I had with Matt about it, I just knew there was something radically different from anything we'd seen in Batman movies before.
Again, I like the look, and also, I mean, he's not wrong about like Matt Reeves' vision for this Batman.
Yeah, it comes off as facile because it's like trying to make a very it's like trying to do the hipstery deconstruction thing of like
I don't think so. I think it's just more so like you're trying to pitch to someone who's already been sold something.
Yeah, it's like anyone who doesn't know this already is not going to be convinced by this, and most people who are going to be watching this already know this. So it's the artistic equivalent of a virtue signal. It's like it almost borders on obvious fact is obvious levels.
I don't know what the virtue signal thing meant. I feel like you're reaching with that.
You know what I mean? When they generally what we mean when we say virtue signaling is you take something that is obvious and universal and you treat it as though it isn't obvious and universal. That's what I meant.
Okay, that's fair, but like I get what he's saying.
Yeah. It's just laying it on a bit thick in context of you're doing a Batman movie.
It's just with like the other ones that were kind of pitching the things they're. I don't know. It could have been just the British thing, because like he's trying to talk very more refined and stuff. But like the other guys seem to really. I don't know. It's like I don't think he's not enthusiastic about it because like from the interviews I've seen, like he seems real fucking jazzed about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like compared to like Black Adam and Shazam, like those interviews.
They seem to be they seem to be having a little bit more fun with it. Which, granted, this kind of movie is less, you know, it's less memey and you know, humorous and fun. So I can understand why, but it's also like, and to be fair to Robert Pattinson, he's probably trying literally anything he can to just not ever be compared with Edward Cullen ever again. So
yeah, honestly, I get that, and honestly, to be fair, I barely saw Twilight.
and I watched it, and honestly, I didn't care about Edward at all because he was just boring and not attractive to me. But
like here, like I think you really see a lot of. Like actually, Robert Pattinson is actually like a really great actor from everything else I've
yeah,
seen.
he's been in a lot of really like artsy movies since Twilight. Again, trying his damnedest to get his self-respect as an actor back, which I don't fault him for.
Yeah.
Because it really seemed like the only person on Twilight who was actually having fun with their role was Taylor Lautner, and even he didn't like having to constantly stay in shape for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Again, I just like the look because it just feels like a really lived-in world as well.
Yeah, it feels like something that exists. So good. And again, it's worth noting that it doesn't borrow too heavily from either the Burton aesthetic or the Snyder aesthetic.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of like again, like I'm getting like you're right, like I'm getting a lot of Seven aesthetic a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like I like this look of like because I think you and I talked about this a bit, and we might talk a little bit more when we actually watch the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But the Riddler here seems a lot like kind of based off, well, one like John Doe from Seven, and also the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah, which is it's definitely a good route to go with it. I probably would have thrown in a little bit even of like Jigsaw from Saw, because I mean, the Riddler is always about his, his puzzles and his games and things. So, but maybe that's something they'll introduce late, assuming they let the Riddler live at the end of. And this is a minor gripe from just everything. Dear comic book movie creators, stop killing off your villains in the first goddamn movie, please.
Well, it's a Batman movie, so I doubt it.
Yeah. So yeah, generally speaking, though, just don't kill off your villains. Let them survive and team up with other villains later. That's the best way to go about it, generally.
Yeah. Anyway, moving back to 40 because I'm going to show the Riddler symbol here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, I got nothing really else to say. I'm just enthralled by the scenery.
It looks like a very good Batman movie, and it looks like we'll finally be rid of the we have to copy Christopher Nolan every 5 minutes aesthetic, which is definitely a plus for me because I hate Christopher Nolan even at the best of times. So I'm glad that somebody is willing. It's a little bit like how I kind of feel bad for Jared Leto. I started to feel bad for Jared Leto once the Joaquin Phoenix version came out, because the Snyderverse was trying so hard to copy Christopher Nolan that it didn't become its own thing. And so when somebody actually did come up with their own thing to do with the Joker, it was like, oh, so this is what the Joker can be in this new modern era.
You know what's
And
weird?
I feel like this is going to be very similar in the sense of a lot of people are probably going to end up forgetting the Snyderverse because it tried so hard to just copy what Nolan did better previously.
Right.
Whereas this is going to become the Batman of this generation, probably, assuming they do it as well as it looks.
Right.
Like they're doing.
Fuck, I had something. You know what's weird? Like in the promotional material for Zack Snyder's Justice League, with like the Joker, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really came off like the Joker they were doing, even though like it was supposed to be based off Suicide Squad's Joker.
Mm.
He seemed to be kind of like a cult leader, which I think would have been an interesting take for a Joker.
Mm-hmm.
He's always had that cult of personality thing.
Yeah.
So like, just really lean into that. Like, remember that image they had of like Joker Jesus with like the crown of thorns and stuff?
Right.
Anyway, that was just a tangent there. shall we?
Yeah. Banana.
No. Bat-nana. I think we said last time.
Yeah, I did that joke last time, and you gave me the disappointed look, so I didn't want to try it again.
Well, it works for this, so.
Okay, Bat-nana.
Bat-nana.
I felt that we'd seen lots of origin stories. We'd seen things go further and further into fantasy. And I thought, well, one place we haven't been is grounding it the way that Year One does, to come right in to a young Batman. Not be an origin tale, but refer to his origins and shaken to his core.
Okay, that coming from anyone else's mouth would sound really, really bad, but I get what he's coming from here.
Yeah, like, it's a Year Two story, which Batman Alone Halloween is a Year Two story.
Yeah, it's returning the world's greatest detective angle to Batman rather than just the, vengeful force of nature that he becomes later.
Or like how he portrays himself in Year One.
Yeah. Which, again, even though generally speaking, the word grounded in relation to these sorts of source materials is a red flag.
Yeah,
and would have me almost vomiting.
Right,
I get what he's saying.
Yeah, like it's the same thing with like what he did with the Planet of the Apes movies, minus the first one because he wasn't on that one.
Yeah, he's trying to actually build from point A to point B rather than just straight up shunning point B, which is what most grounded things do.
Yeah, and how I've always interpreted grounded, like with Matt Reeves, especially again, like looking at his works in like the Apes trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Is grounded in the person, which in the Apes movies it was Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
Here it's obviously Bruce.
Yeah, which is an interesting way of going about it because, again, for as many variations of Batman we've gotten over the years, we never really get to focus much on Bruce as a character in his own.
I think the closest we've gotten, besides like the animated series, obviously.
Yeah, I mean the animated series is still the gold standard for this, and as good as this movie looks, I don't think it's going to usurp.
No,
the
obviously not.
Crown of the animated series, but
obviously not. But I think it's still going to be a good interpretation of that.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. And again, I'm grateful for it for washing the taste of Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder out of our mouths.
All right, we get it. We get it. Okay, it's just like at this point it should be a drinking game. All the times you bash on Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder. I bash on Zack Snyder mostly. I could take or leave Christopher Nolan. Anyway, I think again, like back to what I was saying, like the closest we got to like exploring Bruce as a character in like live action Batman interpretations was Tim Burton. Tim Burton's Batman movies. Specifically the first one. I don't remember much of the second, to be fair.
There was more exploration of Selina stroke Catwoman in Batman Returns than there was Bruce. One of my favorite scenes in the Tim Burton Batman was when Alfred basically dresses him down. I have not spent my entire life doing this and that and the other to spend the remainder of my life grieving for the loss of old friends or their sons.
God, that was an amazing actor for Alfred.
Yeah. I think he's probably still my favorite. And again, I realize I'm biased because I literally one of my earliest memories was watching the '89 Batman on VHS. But still, there's a reason why it's still referenced and why it's still relevant, 30 years later.
Yeah. Again, like they did a little bit in Batman Begins, I think, with Bruce, but not a lot.
Yeah, no, that was like I'm glad that Batman Begins exists, but it doesn't really Like it focuses on the origin of Batman, but it doesn't really talk much about Bruce Wayne. And I think that's the main issue is a lot of directors don't seem to understand that they're two different people. Or that they're two different personas.
Right. As much as like I get the whole Batman is the person and Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Mm-hmm.
I've never. I don't know. It feels kind of.
That's never like that's been alluded to, but never actually explored in any meaningful way.
Yeah. Anyway. Batnana.
Batnana.
Right from the beginning, there's a desperation to it. He's really working out this rage. All the fights seem very personal.
What's so wonderful about this world is the exploration of the gray area. Catwoman really wants to fight for those who don't have someone else to fight for them.
I'm interested to see this take because, again, it's like taking inspiration from The Long Halloween, and therefore Selina is the daughter of Carmine Falcone.
Mm-hmm.
A daughter of Carmine Falcone.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact: the guy who's playing Carmine Falcone in this was in Michael Bay. Was in the Michael Bay movies. That's where I remember. That's where I remember him. He was that agent dude.
Ah, okay.
I can't remember his name, unfortunately. Like he was like one of the best parts of those movies.
Hmm.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, a great actor. He's also in like I think a Colin Brothers movie called The Big Lebowski. Yeah, he played Jesus. Or is it Jesus? Either way, you know who I'm talking, like that actor. Like he's a great actor. I like him, and what I've seen him in. I just can't remember his name. Anyway,
Batnana.
Batnana.
And that's where Batman and her really connect.
He wants to inflict his kind of justice. He's just compelled to do it. There is no other option.
Okay, that theme at the end there, excellent.
It's Michael Giacchino, by the way.
Oi, Giacchino! Why didn't we get this kind of effort put in with the Doctor Strange theme? Instead of just copying what you did for Star Trek Beyond. But adding a sitar at the end.
I mean, to be fair, he's reused a lot of his works in various projects, even the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, I feel like it's your job as a composer is to compose a new song or a new, soundscape in each movie you're doing. If you're just reusing the same the same audio aesthetic, then what's the point of even calling yourself a composer?
Oh, like, you would hate the 10th piece thing then.
What now?
Oh, well, I've done, like, I do research and, like, watch a bunch of video essays talking about, like, certain filmmaking aspects, and I've done research into, like, soundtracks and stuff. When a movie's doing, like, when they're pre-editing, like, doing, like, cuts of the movie, they will put in, like, other tracks from...
Oh, yeah, the essentially, like, this is a temporary fit, and sometimes they'll even just keep it in the final.
Not keep it, but the composer will listen to that and use that as a base.
Use that as the template, and yeah, I can sort of buy that. And I don't mind when a composer's compositions sound similar to each other, because honestly, that's kind of what you go for. Like all of all of Danny Elfman's songs sound similar to each other, but they're all still separate songs. Like, there's a difference between songs that sound similar because it's the same artist doing them, and songs that are literally just repeated basically all together, but with a few added touches here and there.
I will say this, and this is like a side tangent for me, with like the temp music. If you're gonna do temp music, at least put in good music.
Yeah.
You know?
Like something that's actually like memorable and catchy, because this is something else I've noticed. What the fuck ever happened to the concept of a catchy theme? Because like it's been ages since I've genuinely found a franchise that has I guess the last like genuinely catchy sort of theme was the one for Wonder Woman that was like distinctly hers.
I'm not even gonna try to sing it.
But even that was just basically the guitar riff. It's been a while since I've had a theme that you can actually hum to yourself. Like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies had one. The Pirates of the Caribbean movies had one, and so on. But like other than that, those are like the last genuinely like humble and can like get stuck in your head sort of soundtracks. So yeah, dear composers, your job is to compose. If you're not composing, you're not doing your job correctly.
Right. Shall we?
Yep.
This is the official trailer for DC. Fun fact: when I first watched this, I think I messaged Dalton. You know what? I'm actually going to reset that to this layout because that makes more sense. And I texted Dalton and like how like he always says how the official trailer should have been the teaser trailer.
Yeah.
I finally get what he means with this. However, I'm still willing to be lenient on that, mainly because like they had to show something last year and they weren't done filming and stuff.
Right. I don't mind it necessarily when the teaser trailer leaves certain things out, but it's like give a decent reflection of the movie you're like. The purpose of trailers is to sell the movie you're selling. So
to be fair, again, this is my personal thing. I think they did that for the teaser trailer.
Yeah, no, the Batman teaser trailer didn't have the problem that I usually reference, because the problem that I usually reference is when they literally have nothing of substance happen in the teaser trailer because they're not ready. And in my opinion, I think it'd be better to just wait the extra couple of months, especially now with constant delays because pandemic and everything. If the trailer that you're making or the teaser trailer you're making is not going to give an accurate reflection of the movie you're selling, or is not going to contain any of the substance of the movie you're selling, then just wait until you have a trailer that's worth releasing and then release it. Anyway, Nana.
I'm back.
Huzzah.
Sorry, I had to throw up my can.
It's fine. Anyway,
I needed to like stretch my legs real quick because my legs were starting to go numb.
At least it's temporary for you, jackass. I'm joking.
I mean, to be fair, you never actually knew what well, to go numb.
Yeah, because that's kind of my default position.
Yeah.
Numbness and tightness, which is a massive pain in the fucking ass, but that's neither here nor there.
Right. Yeah,
Bat Nana.
Bat Nana.
Police! Hey,
Okay, so first off, uh, I love this, just the atmosphere of it all.
Mm.
This is so Gotham. The like the tight, close knit areas, the like downpour,
Yeah.
the kind of griminess to it, but also like kind of this, like the neon. Like, oh my god, the thing I always loved is like even with like the it's like something like the Christopher Nolan movies and Zack Snyder movies. Forgot, like even Joel Schumacher movies and like Tim Burton did this is color in Gotham. You know, like the Christmas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like with Joel Schumacher, it was very 90s, like neon color, which I really like. Like I like the look of Gotham. The movie itself was okay.
Yeah, Gotham is a character in its own right, and it has its own aesthetic.
Right. The thing I think that the Nolan movies and the Snyderverse forgot was
it's not just New York or Chicago.
Yeah. But also, like, there was no like aesthetic to it, really. Just buildings.
Even Joker was better at kind of capturing an aesthetic for a Gotham.
And it was like a period piece because it was like set in the 80s, you know?
Yeah.
But like,
I actually the other day rewatched our reaction we did with Corrupt to the Young Turks video, the Young Turks review of Joker. I enjoy sometimes just going back and rewatching our old shows because sometimes it's just gold.
Yeah. But yeah, it really does show that Gotham is a character itself. And even like Gotham the show did that too.
Mm-hmm.
But also like hold on, let me hold on. Like the look of everything, like it's both modern and Art Deco and stuff. It's timeless.
Yeah. It's layered. Like you can see like you can see underneath all the grime and the darkness. There was at some point a time where Gotham was the place to be, where it was like this big, upper crust. Everything was very advanced for the time city, but you can also see the years of wear and tear and the darkness and the back alleys and all that stuff also on top of that.
And again, like the and like the timelessness to it, like it just seems like this could both take place like in the 90s, which I always got a feeling of, and also today.
And also kind of also in the 40s, which is
Yeah.
Because there's parts of and I've heard people from like London and New York talk about how London and New York are kind of the same way. You can see the bits and pieces of the past still, like there's still a spark of the old city still buried somewhere in the elements of the new city and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, and I said this like in a tweet before, like last year, is I kind of get a feeling of like a 1990s Adam West Batman a bit.
Mm-hmm. Which I believe would have been the Gray Ghost, but never mind. That's a reference for another day.
No, we all if we're animated series fans, if we're the DCEU fans, we'll get that reference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they had the sheer balls to have the inspiration for Batman be played by Adam West, and it's just I miss the 90s. Like even though I was a kid in most of them, I miss the way IPs used to be approached in the 90s and early 2000s, back when things were done for their own sake rather than as a means to an end. And like even when you were trying to make a buck off something, you still took the time to do your research and care about the thing. If only.
Anyway, shall we?
Bat-nana.
Bat-nana.
Okay, I love that shot. That
fear.
Sorry, it's
the thing with the teacup. I don't know why, but I absolutely love that shot.
You know what's weird? And like I did this just because I was curious to see what other people's reactions were, right? So I watched reaction videos. People were surprised that it was the Riddler. Some people were.
Well, I think that's mostly just because a lot of people don't understand the Riddler. Like, a lot of people seem to see the Riddler as, like, a discount Joker for some reason. And I just, like, for me, I've always liked the Riddler better. Particularly because when I was younger, I watched the WB The Batman show, and their origin episode for the Riddler made him one of my all-time favorite Batman villains.
Mainly, I liked him because he was voiced by Freddy Krueger. But also, like, his design was pretty cool too. He also did seem like a genuine threat as well.
Yeah. Didn't the same voice actor who played him in the Batman also voice Felix Faust in the Justice League cartoon? I want to say it was the same voice actor.
Robert Englund or Englund?
I might be completely wrong, but I'm almost positive that the same voice actor who played the Riddler in The Batman also voiced Felix Faust in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
I mean, I'd have to look it up.
There's something just so classy about, like, coffee foaming the question mark into a teacup or a coffee cup.
Also, people, please remember that. Yeah, he also voiced Felix Faust.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. Glad that wasn't just something my childhood brain made up.
And again, he also voiced Riddler, and he also voiced Scarecrow in the Injustice 2 game. As Scarecrow. So,
dude gets around.
Yep. What was I gonna say? It also really, and like again, this trailer really sets a really interesting tone at the beginning, of, like Riddler being caught, and honestly, like how the slow raise of the hand, which is an indicator in a lot of movies, is all part of the bad guy's plan to be caught.
Yeah,
he's in control, and also, yeah, you're right. Like I just love, like, even though like it is gritty and it's dark per se, like
there's still style
and
color away in the margins.
Yeah, in color, you know, like
because you can do a dark story without needing to literally black and white the camera.
Crow, which I also think is an inspiration for this, maybe subtly. I don't think it's like an outright inspiration for it, but I also get feelings of that a bit.
Yeah, there's bits of that, and the thing with the coffee cup actually almost makes me think of like a Alice in Wonderland kind of thing going on, which I don't know why my brain made that connection, but it God damn, I hope the Riddler is as good of a performance as this implies that he is, because again, the Riddler is one of my favorite Batman villains, so I'd like to see it done really well.
The actor is Paul Dano, I believe. I haven't really seen much of him in films. I've heard good things though.
I'm just hoping that he's as much of a like Machiavellian puppet master as he seems here, because I for obvious reasons, there's a part of me that really, really likes that type of character. The, you know, everyone is puppets playing along to my tune kind of character.
It scares me that you think that.
Yeah, well, it should.
Granted, if you ever do try to be like that, I will legitimately beat your ass.
I know.
Shall we?
Yep. Bet Nana.
Bet Nana.
Fear is a tool. When that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning.
Yeah, dude, this looks really fun, cool.
Yep.
Like you just get
the Batman movie of our generation, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, and you just get a sense. You get a sense of this, like there are stories being told without being said.
And I like the shot with the blinds, because that's a classic like noir aesthetic move. And
Yes.
it works so well with the way it's lit.
Yeah, it's the blinds of a spotlight, which it looks like it's been like there's a makeshift bat symbol forced into the blinds themselves too, which is really cool. And it like shows like no money's been put into actually build a bat signal. Like it's makeshift because
we're still in early days yet.
Yeah. Dude, it's so cool. And like, okay, I want to point out also the signal in. Like, look at that, dude. Look at that.
Yeah.
Dude, looks like all these shots look like comic panels.
Yeah, and with the like gold lighting there, it almost reminds me of like sepia tone flashbacks or something, which is a good aesthetic to go with this.
Right. God, dude, like I'm more speaking of this as like a filmmaker myself, not just as a Batman fan or a comic book fan. This is good filmmaking.
Yes. It is.
Like, look at that.
It looks, it straight up almost looks like something I could see in the animated series, which is about the highest praise I can give anything from like a Batman perspective.
You know what's funny? I've actually seen spotlights myself, like in real life. I saw them when I was younger, like dancing around in the clouds before. Never really saw them up close.
My point of reference for spotlights is people who use them to go hunting at night. Because heck.
Well, I actually live close to a baseball field, like a legit baseball stadium.
Ah.
Yeah.
I literally have a softball field next door to my house. Like literally right over the fence.
Well, remember, like I live kind of close to downtown, so. It's only like a 20-minute walk from my house. Maybe more, actually, depending on traffic. Also, this look of the Batman, just like I knew the costume would look very different and better on actual camera than like the behind-the-scenes photos we saw. And it does not disappoint, especially with, like the rain on it and like giving it that kind of sheen and shine.
Although to be fair, it didn't look bad in the behind-the-scenes photos.
To be fair, that was also a stuntman suit.
Yeah. which requires extra padding because stunts.
Yeah. Again, look at this, man. This is actually framed like a comic panel. Like,
yeah, as well it should be. Well done, Mr. Reeves.
actually, I think we might also want to give credit to his cinematographer, which I will have to look up myself.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Batman voice ain't bad.
No.
Like, it's not as scratchy or growly as Christian
yeah,
Bale.
yeah, but it's still very dark for the sake of.
Yeah, it's got like it has like a gravel to it, sure.
But it doesn't sound like he's been a smoker for 50 years.
No.
Or doing a bad Sylvester Stallone impression, which is always what I thought it sounded like when Christian Bale did his.
Yeah. He also, you know what's funny? With Sylvester Stallone, like he actually auditioned for the role of Superman in 1978.
That would have been a very different movie.
He's actually like not a bad actor.
I mean, it would have been fascinating, but it would have been a very different movie.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we?
Yeah. Bat-nana.
Bat-nana.
The warning. I've been trying to reach you. Find the gun! This is about a king.
I like how they're letting him use gadgets, like the electric gloves.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's
I've been missing that for a while.
Yeah, it's a thing that's kind of bugged me as well, like with the movies, is that he hardly ever used gadgets, and if he does, they're not really good ones.
No.
Or they're stock standard.
Yeah.
Like, Batman's a genius, and he also has Lucius Fox, who invents all this cool shit for him.
Yeah, and, he devotes infinite amounts of time and money to this, so even if he wasn't all that smart to begin with, he would get that smart eventually.
Right. Also, Don, tell me, does this give you, like, Silence of the Lambs vibe a bit? With Batman and the Riddler here?
Oh, almost. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the scene right before, after Clarice goes into the Yourself storage and she's bleeding and Lecter passes with a towel. That's what this is making me think of a little bit. Which is, again, a very good sign because I am a massive, massive fanboy of the Hannibal Lecter franchise.
Right. Yeah, I have not really else to say about it. About any of these scenes, it's just really cool.
Yeah, and speaking of things that Matt Reeves apparently can do better than other directors, you managed to do a more visually interesting explosion than Michael Bay. Granted, that's not hard, mind you, but still.
Dude, this is a bird's eye view. Like, this is a bird's eye view from the side of a building blowing up.
Yeah.
Again, another good comic panel there.
Yeah, and it even something as simple as an explosion is still more colorful than 90% of movies today.
Yeah. Anyway.
Bat-nana.
Bat-nana.
King and Riddler's to match.
I can take care of myself.
If this continues, it won't be long before you've nothing left. I don't care what happens to me.
It's only going to get worse for you.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, this
Yeah.
Catwoman really does seem a lot more like a seductress.
Mm.
Again, another great shot.
Yeah.
Batman in the day.
Yeah.
Or
although I imagine this probably comes from close to the end of the movie, because I can imagine a situation where he's had a very, very long night, and then as the sun peeks over the skyline, he just kind of lets out a breath of like, we made it, kind of thing. Maybe I'm inventing, but it seems like that kind of shot of like, we made it through, and now here's the happy ending, or at least the believed positive ending. Like, you made it through a very hard night, and now you're just happy it's over.
Yeah. Again, another great shot. God, why does this movie have so many fucking amazing shots?
Because Matt Reeves is actually trying
Right.
to
Also,
be like respectful of the material. Although I will say, I hope there are more than just gold shots in here, because
that's the sun. That's the sun. So
I know, but it's just like I just like shots that are like just one color. So I hope this is used sparingly.
also, Colin Farrell as Penguin.
He looks good so far. Though the couple of times I've heard his voice, I don't really like what he's doing with his voice with this, but
Like
I could be wrong.
It's honestly a classic mafia gangster, so I'm not really.
Yeah, but that's not really Penguin usually. Penguin is more like upper crust.
Yeah. It's whatever. As long as they keep them.
I mean, as long as they do the Riddler right, I don't really care, sadly, because like I'm hoping that Riddler is the main villain in this, and maybe we'll get more Penguin later in the sequel or whatever. But like, I don't need a great abundance of Penguin. We already have Catwoman and the Riddler to mess with, so like if he's just there to set him up for later, then that's fine.
You're hoping the Riddler is the main villain. How is he not the main villain?
I'm saying because like they might try to split the time between them too much.
I don't think so.
But yeah, I'm hoping that the Penguin is essentially just here to be like, here I am, and remember me for next time, folks, kind of thing. But because I'm interested to see what they do with Catwoman, I'm interested to see what they do with the Riddler, but the Penguin hasn't sold me yet. And again, maybe I'm wrong, but until then, we won't know.
Oh, also we have the first look at Alfred. Andy Serkis is going to Andy Serkis, so we know Alfred's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I have no objections to Andy Serkis, although I wouldn't mind seeing Alfred cast a little older, just generally. But
oh my
that's
God.
that's my biases.
Hey, don't.
What?
Guess what I'm going to say?
Let it go.
Picky bitch.
Yeah, well, somebody has to be.
Not for this. Not really for this.
You know I don't really have an off switch. I mean, if anyone in the world knows that by now, you should know that.
I forget often. But
Banana.
not like I was going to say something. Well, what was I going to say? Fuck. Well, I like to look at Alfred because, like, you see, like, some scarring on his face, which, again, Alfred was former SAS.
Yeah.
I'm good that they're finally showing that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they also took. I think Matt Reeves also mentioned he was taking some inspiration from the Batman Earth 1 comics.
Yeah.
So they might also take some inspiration from that for Alfred.
Mhm.
I just like this movie. Just looks really interesting, mainly because like you're really getting a sense of uh, like this kind of thing right here is like you're really getting like a detective story.
Mhm.
Also, again, great. Like imagine this in a comic. Like if they made this whole series a comic, and this whole movie like a comic.
It really wouldn't be hard to translate because most of the shots already resemble panels.
Oh yeah, and again, like when I talked earlier about like the Batman comic, that's like a prequel to this. It's
Mhm.
written by the guy who wrote the movie.
Yeah. So basically, kind of giving an idea of how they storyboarded this thing, probably.
Yeah, I find that cool too. Like usually, I'm not really a big fan of like tie-in stuff for a movie.
But for this, it makes sense because if you're and this is something I hope that other comic book movies in the future take as inspiration from this. If you're adapting a comic book movie, that also means adapting the panels, not just the IPs.
Yeah.
If you're gonna stick with the comic book aesthetic, then you stick with the comic book aesthetic. And to his credit, Ang Lee tried once, but he didn't really have enough examples of how to do a comic book movie to pull from. That's why the Hulk wasn't very good. But
Well, also the writing for that.
well, again, Ang Lee's strength is watching every movie in a genre that already exists and kind of copying what works in them. That's what he did for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, vis-a-vis the kung fu genre. So I think that if Ang Lee made a comic book movie now, having more examples of how to do a comic book movie to pull from, he could make a better one.
Right. I also like this scene with like in the club, with like the fighting, because it really like it has the inklings of like the gracefulness that Batman usually has, but it's also still like that rawness, like what was
Mhm.
implied in the BTS scene. It's like
Mhm.
every fight is like personal and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, you get a sense of and the thing that like it always like bugs me with like certain fight scenes, specifically in like superhero movies, is that there's never a story being told. It's always just a fight.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like a
Mhm.
fight itself has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It tells a story between two characters
Mhm.
going at it.
Yeah. The gold standard for fight that tells a story is the Wesley versus Indigo fight from Princess Bride.
Yeah. Granted, this does just seem like a fight more so in defense with Batman or aggressiveness and stuff.
Mhm.
But like you get a sense of like the character himself and all the moves he does, like how he grabs the bat, how he hits the guy with said bat, and stuff. It's
Mhm.
like that's the thing with like old kung fu movies that I kind of like, and is like there's always like added character beats inside the choreography.
Mhm. And that's something I also really like about the Dresden Files. There's never just a wasted fight in the Dresden Files. It's always something indicative of what the world at large is doing or what the individual characters are doing. And even at one point, there's a incident in book 14, where Dresden, like, as he's getting beaten with a bat, because he's getting mugged by an old adversary from like book 4. But as he's getting mugged, he literally like explains that there are multiple different reasons for a fight. I forget what he says. Um, one type of fight where you're trying to accomplish an objective, one type of fight where you just want to cause someone pain, and one type of fight that has some sort of psychological investment for you. I forget I forget the exact context, but stuff like that is really, it's to be fair, it's a lot easier to do in books because you can actually see into the minds of the characters, and shit can be explained like that. But it'd be nice if movies, especially modern movies, thought about that in terms of, okay, why are these characters fighting? How, and what's more, and this is something that even Avatar managed to get right, was how do the characters' fighting styles or the way they approach a fight reflect their characters? Because you don't really see that. It's just, I'm punching you because the script says I need to punch you. There's no real, like, it doesn't really inform my character at all. It doesn't really inform your character at all. There needs to be an action scene, so there's an action scene. Anyway, moving. Whoa, why am I on it? I literally woke up like 6 hours ago.
Yeah. But yeah, like, again, my major issue with like just to kind of finish off from my point of view of fight scenes in movies and stuff, is, again, it's more added just fluff. There's no.
There should be an action scene here because the script needs an action scene here. It's not indicative of anything.
Yeah. And that's my problem. Like, natural conflict arising. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just like, if you're gonna have a fight, make sure there's a reason for the fight, not just because, oh, we need a fight.
Yeah, there needs to be an action scene here in the script, because otherwise we can't move the characters and the plot along. Well, figure out one then.
Anyway, going.
Batnana.
Whoa, take it easy, sweetheart. Hear everything they say, ain't you?
Maybe we're not so different. Who are you under there?
I love that scene in like the dark hallway and the gunshots and stuff.
Yeah, okay, this will do. This will do quite well, yeah.
Why do I get a sense of like kind of Daredevil with that hallway scene?
Because they're using Batman in his like ninja effectiveness.
Yeah.
It's almost like the warehouse scene from BVS, but done correctly. You know, the Batman,
I know,
being a literal ninja scene.
Anyway. Batnana?
Batnana.
I'm vengeance. Was black and blue and dead all over.
I'm okay, minor fanboy geek out here, but I'm so glad the Batmobile has its jet engine back.
Right. Also, the riddle, and I feel like a lot of people have forgot. Like, a lot of people I've seen that try to do like those breakdowns of the trailers thing, kind of get it confused. Is like the whole riddle is what's black and blue and dead all over you. They think you is the answer. I think they just cut it for dramatic effect, but still.
I could see it either way, although I think if there is a second layer to it, it would make more sense, especially because he's the freaking Riddler.
Yeah.
Riddles are his thing.
Dude. Oh, dude, I love this. I love this so much.
And I like. And speaking of what I said earlier, I like that this explosion is a different color than the previous two explosions.
Not an explosion; it's a flare.
Wow, but in any case, it manages to light it differently, so it's not just gold or everything. Like this one is more orange, and the previous one was gold. So that's my one gripe taken care of. That there's actually multiple colors in this movie.
You little bitch.
Well, somebody has to be.
No, no one has to be.
I disagree.
When it comes to, okay, but to be fair, my most disliked version of a picky little bitch is the well, actually,
Mm-hmm.
the assholes that do that, like push up the glasses thing.
Especially when they don't actually know what they're talking about.
Or just talking, or if they do, they say it in such a way that just makes them come off as arrogant twats.
Yeah, like they're more interested in correcting people than actually the reason why they're correcting them, which is the thing I hate, because it's like I correct things because things are wrong. I don't correct things because it makes me feel better to correct things. And I think for a lot of people, they get some sort of bizarre ego trip out of correcting things rather than, correcting things for the purposes of fixing them.
Full
Like,
disclosure,
you're supposed to.
Full disclosure, though, I won't lie and say I was not one of those assholes like in my younger years.
Everyone, I think, went through that. Or let me rephrase. Everyone with a brain eventually becomes that asshole for at least a little while, because when everyone around you is a fucking moron, it becomes very easy to convince yourself that you know everything.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually pretty true. Anyway, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. Like, I love this so much. Like, not just as a Batman fan, but like as a filmmaker myself.
Yeah. And again, speaking as somebody who kind of pays attention to like the meta, the landscape of the genre itself as a whole, I think the comic book genre really needs this right now, because again, Marvel appears to have lost its way. So somebody needs to remind them, you're making comic book movies, which means you need to make a good adaptation of a comic and also a good movie along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, Marvel is failing at both of those. So show them how to do it, DC, and then don't forget your own lessons, please.
Right. I had something, but I don't. No, I didn't have something. Never mind.
Batnana?
Batnana.
I got you! I got you!
This is honestly like my favorite part of the trailer. Like, there are a lot of favorite parts of the trailer, obviously, but just mainly for the frame that's going to be coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude, I think you can really tell that everyone just went above and beyond to make a good movie.
Yep.
Or even a great movie.
And I hope that it gets all the attention it deserves, and I hope that honestly, I'm pissed off enough at Marvel at the moment that if it turns out that the next 10 years of the comic book genre are dominated by DC movies instead of Marvel movies, I feel like we're finally in a place where I would genuinely be okay with that. between what they're doing on the wackier side with Black Adam and Shazam sequel, and what they're doing on the more grounded side with this. DC can take the king of the comic book genre baton from Marvel, at least for the foreseeable future, because Marvel appears to have gotten so far up its own ass that they think they can do everything, even if they don't care about the quality, and
yeah,
they need a rude awakening.
Yeah. I had something. Yeah, it's like one of those things. Like it's one of those very few occasions like where like you watch something and you could just feel the passion of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it basically goes with everything we've seen so far.
Yeah, like there's no part of this that I'm thinking really, except for maybe the Penguin stuff, but I'm willing to be proven wrong on that.
I'm not even, there's no point in arguing with you.
Anyway, Bad Banana?
Well, I did want to say, like, again, like with like Black Adam, Fury of the Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Peacemaker, the Batman, like you can just feel the passion.
Yeah.
Just like, and it's
somebody finally woke up and went, hey, there's actually really good stuff to be made with these DC characters and things.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no shit. It's a shame. It's a shame it took you, 1.5 failed cinematic universes to figure that out, but at least you finally got there.
It's refreshing,
Mm-hmm.
Like even with, like, I don't want to throw my shade, but like even with like certain Marvel movies in the last like 5 or so years, I don't know. It just
Yeah, I mean everything starting at Captain Marvel has been either a dud or a very near. Like Shang-Chi was fine, but like Captain Marvel bad. WandaVision was almost good, and then it ruined itself in the last episode. Falcon Winter Soldier became a stump speech for BLM. What if I guess is the best case for Marvel right now? In particular, the Doctor Strange episode, but even that has its moments of like, I feel like this could have been handled better. And then of course you've got Black Widow was disappointing, and Eternals was a travesty that should make Jack Kirby spin in his grave so fast they should install a rotisserie. So like, yeah, like ever since basically and we don't even need to talk about Endgame because we've all made our feelings on Endgame clear and how disappointing Endgame was. So like, yeah, somebody needs to take the baton away from Marvel because they're gonna wind up producing a Batman and Robin style momentary end of the genre if they're not careful. And it seems like DC is more than capable of currently picking up the slack. Yeah. Yep. Banana. And again, the soundtrack is just amazing. I love this. It gives me like old school I just forgot the composer's name. Danny Elfman. It gives me old school like Danny Elfman, Tim Burton vibes, and or like old school animated series vibes, but it is also kind of its own thing enough that it's not like they're reusing the old theme, but it's definitely still in that same vein.
Don't?
Yeah.
How the fuck did you forget Danny Elfman's name?
I don't know. It's been a long stream already.
Shame.
Shame. Yes, that's fair.
Anyway, this is like one of my favorite stills, or like just one of my favorite shots of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
There was someone that I watched that talked about this. Is like the image is like Batman is like this shadowy figure, right? With the fire behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Is like an angel of death. Like just the imagery, kinda.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
I did want to bring up something like criticisms from people that we know that brought up with this movie, mainly like the portrayal of Batman. Dalton and I had brief discussions of this beforehand in like the month leading up to this. Is like people were complaining about how like this Batman is like more angrier,
but he's still new to it, so it makes like Batman has always been a grieving child using fighting criminals as a means of therapy, and he's still new at it, so he's still like the wounds are still fresh. He's still coming off of the 10 years of prep that he did just so that he could avenge his parents, basically.
right? Also, it comes out on March 4th, 2022.
Which apparently made Marvel shit itself so badly that they moved Doctor Strange ahead to May or behind to May.
We are going to be reviewing this movie, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a given. But yeah, I did want to. It's like, and also like, again, yeah, like he's in like his second year of Batman. Like he's not like he's kind of gotten past the learning curve, but he's still not in his prime.
He's still working through some shit.
Yeah.
To put it bluntly.
Yeah, and again, like he's in his 20s. Like name one 20-year-old that isn't like still trying to figure out who they are.
Because I can speak, I think, for both of us when we say, yeah, we both still are, and I'll be 30 in 4 years, but I still don't have the first clue of what the fuck I'm doing.
I mean, we got an inkling with things we're doing behind the scenes, but you know. Yeah, and also just like this is a take on Batman that seems to be more personal and not focusing on the mythological figure of Batman. This is
it's not Bat God as the fanboys say.
Yeah. It's focusing on Bruce Wayne as from what I've gathered, and like it's
and also on Gotham kind of as a character as well, which again is nice.
Yeah. So and I don't know. It's weird to me. It's like they also mentioned like he looks very emo. It's Batman. He was kind of technically
he's basically the original emo.
Yeah. This is just, but you know, it's like again, this is a Batman that's still trying to figure out being Batman. To be quite honest, I want to see like third movie or second movie if they do that. If this gets enough.
Yeah, they're probably gonna do like a character arc where he becomes more and more Batman-ish as time goes by. And in fact, I almost wonder if they'll do like a time skip, like ahead 5 years or so.
Right, but I also want to see like there are like two things I want to see with like this kind of Batman if they were to go forward, right? I mean, they're also doing that prequel series based on the GCPD with like Batman, based around this movie. But like two things I want to see is like one, he also builds up the Bruce Wayne billionaire playboy.
The false mask of Bruce Wayne, the public figure.
Because it doesn't really seem like he has that. He's kind of just putting himself all in Batman. And two, I want to see a Robin. I want to see a Dick Grayson to this Batman.
It'd be interesting,
yeah, I think that would be interesting. Mainly because
especially in like the third movie because you could easily turn this into a passing of the torch kind of thing in terms of the character arc.
Yeah, and also
in the third movie.
Yeah, and that's the thing with like Dick Grayson specifically is like Batman like Bruce never wanted Dick to ever become like him, be so obsessed that he cannot ever stop being Batman.
Function.
Yeah.
And it would be a really interesting way of capping off the character arc of, you've got like the inexperienced kid is finally grown up enough to become a mentor and then passes on what he's learned to the next kid in line.
Also, I just want to see a live action Robin on film. I'm not counting Titans because fuck Titans.
Yeah, especially given their creative use of the F word that one time.
It's not even that. It's just that show's so fucking bad with every character.
Yeah, Titans. It's like, oh, people don't like Teen Titans Go? Well, we'll make a really super serious, super dark Titans. Well, people don't like that either.
Okay, for the record, executives making fucking Titans, go check out my rewrite of your season 1. That's how you fucking do a Dark Titans show.
Or hell, just watch the Glen Arakami show again. Because the Glen Arakami managed to balance both. This is the thing that they don't understand. They think their initial thought was, oh, it's just a silly kids show. We can just make it silly and kidified. When people balked at that, the straw man was, oh, you want it really dark and really self-serious? And it's like, no. We want it to be 3-dimensional. Because the Glen Arakami Teen Titans, what made it so good was it was both at once. It managed to be really over the top and almost like comedy anime-ish, while also being a really moving, really, well-rounded 3-dimensional study of this world and these characters. Why is it so hard to contemplate the notion that a story can be multiple things at once? A story can have multiple angles at once.
Right.
It's like with the Joker thing. Everyone and their mother wanted that movie to have one right answer, but it wasn't, and it didn't because it had a 3-dimensional world and a 3-dimensional character it needed to give 3 dimensions to.
Right.
Dumbasses.
Right, but again, back to things like I would so love to see how Robert Pattinson's Batman would interact with a Robin. Hey, Ed Brewer.
He came in right at the end there. Hey, Ed.
Yeah, just like it's this like I don't want to like be hyperbolic or anything, but I think this will be a good movie at the very least, like enjoyable to watch.
I could easily see this becoming this generation's iteration of Batman, and so much better.
Yeah. I don't think they said what it's rated. I don't think it's R-rated. Obviously, it does look like it would be pushing the PG-13 line, though.
Honestly, I kind of hope they do go R, but I don't think they will.
I mean, they didn't with Venom. Let there be carnage.
Yeah, and how you do a Carnage movie without doing a... Never mind. That's
a
whole nother...
It looks like it could work either way. Like, it looks like kind of a...
Yeah, but in any case, if it is PG-13, it needs to be in like a Pirates of the Caribbean style, pushing the boundaries of PG-13 level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got nothing really else to say. Don?
Me either.
Alright. So with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, avidazay, sayonara, peace, cheers, and...
Hopefully DC takes the comic book genre baton from Marvel, because Marvel will not, unfortunately, just fuck off.